Hello, thanks for watching this Com Club production video. I'm your host Ryan Zunner, and today we're going to be doing a roundtable discussion on technology and how it affects us and our future. To start off, we're going to do a slight introduction here of everyone.
Hello, my name is Gabriel. I'm happy to be a part of this square-ish roundtable discussion.
I'm Hallie. I'm excited to be here as well, but I'm just here.
My name's Angella. I am the treasurer of Com Club.
I'm Justin. I'm excited to be here.
Way to sell it.
Okay, to start off the discussion, let's just throw a question out there. So it's about technology and how it affects us and our future. What exactly define your technology? You're talking social media or kind of everything?
All of it.
All of it, okay.
All of it.
And I guess a lot of that has to do with social interaction between people. It's changed a lot. Before there was a lot more face-to-face interaction, but now it's a lot more over the internet, texting, that type of thing. So let's just throw it out there and talk about how that's sort of changed social interaction.
Nobody talks to each other face to face anymore. Barely ever. And if you have to, it's just
Awkward.
like nerve-wracking. People are nervous and anxious. And it shouldn't be like that.
I'll be in the same room as someone and they will text me.
Like this. Just send them a text.
Literally, I'll be like 5 feet away.
And even
somebody will text me.
even when you're in a room with all of your friends, there's always someone who's just constantly on their phone, checking to see what's going on with everybody else for no reason.
I agree.
What about you, Gabe?
I think podcasts are the way of the future.
Ooh, shameless plug.
No
Moving wild.
promo.
i.e. SoundCloud Run Wild Podcast. Check it out on YouTube. It's the way of the future, man.
Gotta rep Hawk Radio too.
Hawk Radio.
Yeah.
Hilbert.edu/hawk-radio. Check her out.
Why do you think podcasts are the way of the future?
Because it just is.
Yeah, and that's an
Why?
interesting point too that you bring up, because a lot of people will agree that technology kind of has a negative effect on our communication between each other, but podcasting is kind
Well,
of
yeah.
positive,
So
right?
what you're able to do now is you're able to reach a lot of people across the world. For example, I interviewed someone in Saudi Arabia the other
That's
day,
cool.
and you couldn't do that without technology. I have way more resources to do my show with now, and I'm able to get my content out to more people.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that you can talk to her even though she's in another country.
Right.
And how does that work with time zones?
I mean, you have to calculate, like, if you're able to, all of the listeners out there, if you're able to add or subtract 12, you got this.
The other thing about communication, nobody writes letters anymore, and I think that's a big personal thing. Like, I love handwriting.
It's really exciting when you get one.
Yeah, isn't it?
It used to be like, oh, I never get emails, but I get all these letters in the mail. I get a lot of mail, and now it's just totally, you have spam folders in your
Yeah.
email,
I think-
and then you just get this letter. You're like, oh my god, it's so exciting.
Yeah, I think that too, like technology, when email was new and a lot of this technology that we have kind of take for granted now, when it was new, we kind of had that personal connection to it. Like email, like you got excited when you got a new email, but now it's kind of getting old.
It's
You've
annoying.
got mail.
And a lot of it's just junk mail.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
You just click through and get rid of it.
Because, I mean, in real life communicating, you don't really get junk mail or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Well,
I guess that brings up... Yeah, it does depend on who you're talking to.
because there's a lot of there's still, even with websites, we have a lot of different news. There's a bunch of different ways you can get the news that you read.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to be for a lot of just your local newspaper. Now you can get these fake news reporters that are literally reporting like fake celebrity deaths and things like that.
Yeah.
When we just have this huge connection to all of it, when it's harder to tell what's real and what's not now.
Yeah, I think we've seen we've relied a lot on new technology, and now when it sort of combines with like news and that type of thing, it creates kind of a negative atmosphere. And I think we're starting to see a lot of that, like you brought up fake news. So that's definitely kind of a big negative of interaction. But then that also brings up a lot of people, like going back to the podcast thing, like you can communicate your opinion or just something you're interested in to like millions of people like around the world. So I guess what are some of your other positive things that maybe you have on technology?
It's a lot. It helps with the education system a lot too, because
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
there's
Blackboard.
interlibrary loans itself too. Like we can get a article from a database from the other side of the world if we really don't have to. If we don't have it here,
Mhm.
it's not possible to reach one from like France and have their research is and things, so we know what they're doing, and we can use that in our research here as well.
You search one thing on the library website and like 8,000 results pop up, and they're all
Yeah.
peer reviewed.
Mhm.
It's all set.
I'd say in emergency situations, it's a lot easier now to get
Oh,
in
yeah.
contact with people.
For sure, yeah.
Especially way at school, like say if I had something happen to my family at home and they can't contact me, like a lot of my family has met a lot of my friends from here too, and they have them on Facebook and things like that, so they can easily reach out to them on Messenger, like, hey, have you seen her? Like, is she okay? Because can you have her call me and things like that.
I think in terms of technology and communication and everything, there's not necessarily like more negatives and positives or vice versa. They kind of like balance each other out.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too relies on your personal kind of beliefs on that and
Experience.
experiences too. There it is.
Oh, look, technology interrupts everything.
After that brief intermission.
We were on people's personal experiences with technology.
It's definitely affected our younger generation a lot more too. I have
Oh.
an 8-year-old brother,
I was just
and
gonna say
he,
that,
you know,
yeah.
I was outside a lot growing up, and he's sitting there on his tablet all day, and he's just like into it, and he's like pew 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 pew, and I'm like, Ethan, what are you doing? He's like, he just ignores me more easily now, and you go like this, and he gets so upset when you're just trying to get his attention. So it's really more distracting for the younger generation too. Like it can be helpful, but it's definitely, I've seen a huge drawback.
Yeah, and especially to like the younger generation, they're now like right from their birth and their early childhood, they have technology right away. Some of the older generations, it was somewhat of a new thing to them, like Facebook, Twitter. They didn't really grow up with it, so it's gonna be interesting to see how the younger generation kind of reacts to that and what they do with social media and all that. Because I mean, there's people like older people use Facebook and all that, and I think the way they interact with people is a lot different than younger people. Some of it could be worse, some of it could be better. But that technology, right from an early childhood, I think could affect generations like
I think it's
differently.
terrible. Like you go to the store and you see like a 7-year-old with like an iPhone.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like that's not necessary at all.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it too is like we don't know really how to treat people with technology. Like at what age do you introduce people to using Facebook or Twitter? Like, is there a right way? Is there a wrong way?
I think that's more of like a parent's decision, but
Mhm.
it's to a point where it's like, okay, if they're like 7, do they really need their own phone? Like I
Yeah.
didn't get my first phone until I was like 11,
And-
which is still young. That's
Yeah.
still pretty young.
My first phone was a flip phone,
Yeah.
and it was for emergencies only. And
Yeah.
now you have these younger generations that have an iPhone. I think we shouldn't focus on just giving them just technology. We should still keep to the basics, so like coloring books and arts and crafting, so they can still build their imaginations that way too, physically hands-on, because there's still a lot of kids who are hands-on learners. We can't rely on just the technology to help them learn, because yes, it is a great learning device. I will not put that past that at all, but I still think having the hands-on crayons, Play-Doh, and things like that, just out with a Tonka toy truck and things like that, they should still have more hands-on things like that. And it's getting harder for children to actually want to go and do that. And I can see that with my 8-year-old brother compared to him at the same age.
But at the same time too, like we're in a very globalized world now, so if we don't introduce these kids at a young age, like maybe we have taken it too extreme, but if we don't introduce them soon enough, they're going to be at a very bad disadvantage if we compare them to people in China or in Europe.
Everything is always compared today though, with anything. Like I mean,
What
I
do you
agree. Like everything is a debate, and it's
Yes.
like young kids, they need to be introduced so they're caught up, but it's to a point where it's like
Too much.
it's too much. Like they really don't need all these things. I mean, we didn't have it, which doesn't mean that they shouldn't, but I still don't think it's
I think your
necessary.
generation's doing okay. That we didn't grow up that have had full tablets and computer access at 7. You know, we had computer in elementary school where you went and learned the basics that you needed to use.
Yeah.
Do they even teach like typing classes anymore?
Yeah.
Like I took
Yeah, I
typing
did.
classes.
Yeah.
But it's
Oh,
like
my brother's taking it at like 8 instead of
Okay.
in middle school.
Yeah,
I took
That's
it
a
in
good
high
thing
school.
though that you bring up. we learn computers, right, in school. Should the new generation learn how to use social media and all that other stuff in
They probably
school?
won't even need it, you know? Like, they're already going to be.
Yeah, they already
brought up.
know.
But I mean, like, a lot of people use it maybe in improper ways that we think of or we don't think it's appropriate. So should there be some sort of resource there for like schools to teach children this is the proper way how to use it? Or do you think it's more of like a parental thing or something you just learn
I
on
feel
your
it's
own?
more of a
I think,
parental
yeah,
thing.
that's a parental thing.
Impersonal.
And
Yeah.
it's like the kids aren't going to listen,
Yeah.
even if they
Yeah.
teach a class on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you do come up with a program like that, kids would find out a new way to get around it. There's going to be a next thing anyway.
There's positives, but then there's also negatives. But I think that comes with sort of anything that's new to us as like a culture or anything like that.
Yeah. So one negative too is the attention span it's almost.
Oh, it's
gone.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
It's
So-
terrible.
If you can't get your message within 10 seconds, then you've lost your audience.
Yeah.
And I think that is something, because it takes for in-depth discussions to be able to dive into something, you need time.
Yeah, and I think with new technology, it's really personalize anything anyone wants. So when you do have a video that's trying to introduce something new, or like a podcast or video or something like that, you have to get to it right away because people can just go to something that they just want to see right then and there.
Which, you know, I agree with that though completely because with books now, like I was an avid reader growing up. I loved reading, but I'll even admit that my attention span has decreased. Like if I don't get into a book in the first like chapter or two, I kind of just move on.
I'm the same
So-
way. I used to read all the time.
All the
I
time.
can't even remember the last
I had
time
a
read
bookshelf that was taller than me, which was full, and now I don't read.
Yeah.
I like, oh, I gotta read that, and it's terrible. You know, I wish I wasn't that way, but
That's
it
just how it
happens,
is.
yeah.
And I think a great example of that like short attention span was like if you guys remember Vine, the app.
I love
It's like
it,
7 seconds of like laughing, but like
Yeah.
7 seconds, like that's it.
And then next
you,
on to
and
the-
then you go to the next one. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of hurts like, you know, YouTube videos and stuff like that because it's hard to compete with something that just lasts for a few seconds, then you can move on to the next one.
Yeah, with YouTube videos, if it's more than like 8 minutes, I don't think I can sit and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should be. I'm not saying that we're doing this, but I don't think we should be demonizing like the younger kids for how they're being treated and grown up because it's not really their choice, you know. It's the
Yeah.
parents
Yeah,
who do it.
that's true.
So, but I think we have gone a little overboard on technology. We're a little bit too much on just unplug, go outside for a walk, camping, maybe join the sports teams. You gotta unplug and have face-to-face human interaction every now and then. But overall, technology, if used properly, is going to be a great benefit.
Yeah, for sure.
And on that point, we're going to end it. Thanks for watching this Com Club production and make sure to subscribe and join us next time. Thanks.